One of the great advantages about being an academic, actually following on from what you were saying as well, is you do get to think and sit around thinking about big ideas, but also you get to be quite rude about stuff that you don't think is a good idea without worrying too much about the consequences. We do get brickbats thrown at us, and that happens quite regularly, but that's part of the kind of cut and thrust. And I think what I'm going to do today is try and give a kind of 25,000-foot view, very personal view, in terms of my own involvement, particularly with open standards, the open standards debate to date, and give you a particular view, again, quite a high-level view of what I believe transformation really means, and also to highlight a danger that I think there's a lot of people potentially running around like headless chickens transforming, and directly to pick up on what you've said, transforming to what? And why? And is there any kind of common feeling behind, common understanding of what we're all transforming to? What the hell's the point? Just very, very quickly, my own involvement in this stems back. I'm non-politically aligned at all, but I did a paper for George Osborne back in 2007, mainly IT-focused, which pointed out that of about a £21 billion public sector IT budget, 80% went to about 14 suppliers, and that there had to be something wrong in that. Pointed out, obviously, that one of the points about outsourcing is that you aggregate demand, and if you aggregate demand, lots of suppliers cluster around you, and if you like, the public sector wears the commercial boot. What unfortunately had happened is governments in the preceding 20 years had very cleverly succeeded in aggregating supply to about 12 to 14 major suppliers, with the results that we've all seen. So I was kind of involved in trying to blow some of that open. A lot of the procurement part of the Tories manifesto, again, non-politically aligned, but they were the people who wanted to take it all seriously at the time, had quite a lot of involvement with. And then produced a paper with working very closely with Liam Maxwell, who I work reasonably closely with now Deputy CIO, and Jerry Fishenden, chap on the right there, which is the only academic paper I'm aware of that deals explicitly with this topic. I will make it available for download because in about a month's time it's finally being published, and under the academic setup we all toil for free, give up our copyright, and the publishers then take it and flog it to people. So in about a month's time no one else will be able to get hold of it unless they which is absolute nonsense, but there we go, that's the way the publishing model works. And since been involved in various things, including obviously the government IT strategy, the strategic implementation plan, and I'll show you an interesting model from that which I came up with in a minute. And then most recently, I think, I've become a little bit worried because I think on the bottom right there's some stuff going on in Cabinet Office about a new concept model for the UK public sector, reference architectures, and none of it seems particularly joined up. And I'm a bit worried that there's a lot of kind of cloudish being spoken, and a lot of sort of anything that vaguely sounds open is being kind of touted around as the next big thing. And I'm a little bit worried, especially about this document, which turned up about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Open Public Services. If you look at it, on the face of it, terribly impressive. Hundreds of pages of eye-catching initiatives, all of which look vaguely open in some kind of sense, but which on a kind of closer inspection appears to be a relatively undifferentiated list, shopping list, of kind of generally open stuff. And it seems to be a slight mixture of kind of big society stuff with open standards thinking, with almost anything, in fact, that we can shovel into that box. I'm a little bit worried about it. Those are some of the kind of main kind of tenets behind that document. I'm worried also because there doesn't seem to be much of a kind of overall blueprint. What's the point in open standards? What's the point in all this transformation rushing around that people are doing at the moment? Yes, cost savings, yes, efficiency, yes, all these kind of great ideas. In my own experience, certainly in the local services sector, transformation means anything you like it to be. For some, it's component-based model, component-based transition, which actually turns out on closer inspection to be salami slicing of different verticals, usually. For some, it's endless leaning and endless outsourcing. Okay, I regard leaning and outsourcing as tweaking of an existing vertical model. That's not transformation. That's kind of improvement of what you've got already. For some, it's endless discussion about shared services. Who do we share with? Why are we sharing in the first place? And where do we stop? How does it all work? And where's the master plan? In particular, in local services, we've got this contrast. On the one hand, we've got all these massive savings. One council talking to the other day, another £42 million of savings in the next 2 or 3 years, and basically another 20% worth of savings. there is no master plan. They've been leaning and outsourcing, and they've had a transformation. If I asked everybody in this room to put up their hand if they've been involved in a transformation program, I suspect most people would put up 2 or 3 hands, because everybody's got at least 2 transformation programs on the go, if they're any kind of self-respecting person. But often, many people, there's another council I'm thinking about, a large county council, that actually forgotten what the original target operating model is it was supposed to be transforming to. And I think there's some real issues here. How, on the one hand, you drive savings, whilst on the other, allowing, particularly in local government, 440-odd organisations to do more or less precisely the same stuff in vehemently different ways. How do you do that? Personally, I would like to see, ultimately, a set of generic components, so sort of 300, 400, 500 components, and to be told, why don't you be as local as you like, and much more local than it's possible to do now, using this standard set of components. And that's ultimately, I think, where we're going to be coming to. So open standards, what does that mean? Well, I think ultimately we're starting to see little shades of this already. Focus on outcomes rather than inputs. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about utility. Standards and open standards, it's all back to that. I'm going to talk about disintegration of vertical silos, traditional vertical silos in government. I'm going to talk about component trading briefly. I'm going to talk about aggregation and then come back right at the end to some I think, fairly testing questions. And I think, for those people transforming, I think ultimately I would ask these questions. Do you really have clarity over your target operating model? Why are you transforming? Where is the consistency of thought process behind the various options that you are considering? Okay, and there's a whole bunch of sort of questions around that which I genuinely do not believe are being asked at cabinet level, particularly in local government.